Today, I'm going to finish using those capacitors to little converters for the engine, and then I begin work on the firebox. Hi, welcome back to another Terranscapes video. I am Mike. I will be your host today, and it is the earliest I think I have ever shot a video in terms of the day, time of day, and so I thought I would have some coffee with it. But that coffee is brutally hot right now. In this video, one of the things I do is I cut out very small circles out of styrene, and you know that I've always said that with a regular object like right angles, squares, circles, your eye picks out irregularities very easily. So cutting those out accurately was really important to me, and I have one that didn't come out as accurate and another that did. And I think it gives you a great opportunity to see why that difference matters and how I went about that. So hopefully you find it interesting, and we should jump in to the past and take a look at how I did it. Let's see here. I'm looking at about 1/10 of an inch. All right, I get a little leeway on that. So I want to build put in a little plate. A lot of times there are like little couplers and stuff that, there's like a little coupler that helps it mate with the other piece or something similar. And quite frankly, that always looks nicer anyway. It adds an extra level of detail. We are right at 0.193. So let's say a 0.16, maybe a 0.15. Maybe a 0.15. Let's see what the template has. It's got a 0.149. That's going to have to be close enough. I have found even with a template that it can be a little tricky to get a perfect circle. We're going to do our best. Helps to hold the pencil at the same angle all the way across. If you whoop like that, it'll be uneven. All right. Now this is 0.020 styrene sheeting, and I find that this is a nice thickness. I've already been playing with it a little bit, and I like how it feels visually. It is thick enough that it has some body and profile, but it's also thin enough that I can cut it with scissors. And let me tell you right now, cutting it with scissors is a hell of a lot easier than cutting it out with a X-Acto blade. I really should cut around the circle and sand it to bring it in. That would be something you would do in woodworking if you were working with some very, very tight tolerances. You wouldn't try to cut it right on the line because you could overcut it by just the tiniest amount. So you cut it just away from the line, and then if you're using like a table saw or something, you might creep it in, just nudge it a little bit. Okay, having finished the second one, this one came out much nicer. I feel pretty good about that. One of the things I noticed is that the pencil markings on the previous one had worn off a little bit from me handling it with my fingers, so I didn't have a perfect guide as to where to sand into. And this one I was more careful to leave the pencil marking, so I really could sand into that spot pretty well. It's not perfect, but I'm pretty happy with that one. You can see now why it's important to get that round. Having that disc on top of a perfectly round bottom really shows how out of alignment it is with that little flat spot on the sort of bottom from this view. And if this one sits a little bit bigger, I don't want to take in that other one. Of course, this piece has some super glue on it. Wait. See how much nicer that one is? I like that. That one came out really nice. I want it to be 0.1. Let's see. That would be something like All right, I'm going to go for a 0.13. I'm going to go for 0.5 for each side. All right, we're going to go with a 0.2, and where that sits is where that sits. I'm going to mark it with my X-Acto blade. Give it a little light score. Flush side on the score line. Let's see what that does. Try and cut it flat. Oh! Well, I'm pretty happy with that cut. And the little pointed end can go right in the bottom in the capacitor, since there's going to be a little squishiness in there. I really want them to seat in the sphere tops really well, since I'm going to sand those. And that is why I am not using styrene, because it's just going to be too flexible and too brittle to sand. I don't think I have to put my pressure on them, but I want to give myself a strong foundation in any case. It should be 0.2. That's what I wanted. And that's what I should have cut it to. All right, let's try and trim just a hair off of it. Hey, all right, that looks pretty good. Those aren't too bad. Those aren't too bad. And so here's where we're at right now. Now that everything is set up, give the sphere a little bit of sanding. This one I've already done, and it was this one was pretty out of whack. It still is a little bit, but this one's pretty good. Just to give you a little before, so you can see. All right, it's not quite overlapped properly. That other one was the other one was a really bad one. I'm pretty jazzed with how those came out. Overall, I'm pretty psyched. That gives you a look at my first component, or pair of components, I should say. Pretty happy with that start. Of course, that's not much of a start in terms of the scope, but an important proof of concept for working with some of these materials. For the next section I want to build, I thought I'd work on the furnace, and I'm building that out of 0.020 styrene as well. And, my measurements, 24, 30 seconds here, and then over here, it's 28, 30 seconds. I actually changed this. This is not 28 in the actual drawing. I shrunk it to get to my 2 1/4 inch. And then it is 24, 30 seconds deep, or 3/4. So I already cut out my 24 by 28. And so here you can see how I shrunk it a little bit to fit. And I've cut out the side walls, which are 24 by 24. But one thing I forgot to account for, even though I said to myself, don't forget to account for it, I still did, partly because I was kind of working on figuring out how to cut these to a high precision, was that I need to take into account the thickness of the styrene, right? So that if this is going to be the floor, all right, I'll turn it here, and then I'm going to put the wall. If I put the wall, right, on the side of it, I'll make the base thicker, wider, I should say. And if I put it on top, then it is going to make it taller. And you may not think that, 0.020 is going to make a difference, but I know that from previous experience that these small differences stack up very quickly. These should have been cut slightly smaller. However, it did occur to me that when I do this front piece, and then I need to put a top piece on, that having a slight lip at the top, which will be pretty slight, will give me a little bit of an edge that I might be able to curve, right? There's going to be a top piece that is going to curve, and that might actually give me a situation where I can butt it up against it, the sidewalls, and that might help me to bend that piece and hold it in place a little more easily. So I think I'm okay actually with that at this point. But when I cut this piece, I do need to account for that thickness so that it sits just, right, I hope everybody's following me here, so that it sits just a hair below this, and that will give me that lip, which will actually be 0.020, I think, precise. Then when I bend this, it can butt up against the top edge here on the inside of this wall, and that should make a nice fit. So next piece I need to cut out is this wall here, the front face. And I'm going to be cutting the front wall to fit in front of the side walls and the floor. So it will actually be regular dimensions as I have drawn them. And that's actually going to make the depth of this be an extra 0.020. But luckily, as you can see here, I've got that room to play with. And again, I know you might say, Mike, that's a little bit you're getting a little too finicky, but I'm going to tell you right now, if I make a 0.02 error here, and then a 0.02 error here and here, all of a sudden, everything starts changing, and it can get really messed up really fast. So I'm going to cut the front face at the normal size. I've already checked the squareness on these cuts, I think. Hold on. I should check. This is an off cut from when I was making the other. All right. Now, normally, and that's what I'm going to do in a second here, I just hold this. I hold this up to a light. If you hold a square against something and you hold it up to the light, then you can see a little bit of light creeping through where it's not meeting the square perfectly. So I was really pleased with how those little converters came out. It was nice because they were very small, very easy to work on. So small step, but it was nice to just have them come out and be like, oh, those are going to look nice. Notice, though, the importance of getting that round, because the one that wasn't round, it shows up quite badly. Something to consider and to remember when you're doing your own work. And the other thing I took away was I need to look at my plans more. The discs I put on top, they're the wrong size. They should have been smaller. The stem for the sphere, that was, I think, too long. I need to look at my plans. I spent a ton of time on them. I need to look at them in more as a bigger picture so that I can plan steps a little bit better, because I didn't need to do all that sanding on the squadron and get that all polished up, and because then I just covered it right up. Partly because the disc was too big. Anyway, but it wasn't entirely a waste of time in the sense that I got to practice with squadron putty and see how smooth it can take a sanding very smooth. And also how brittle it is. And when I was trying to drill into it, it's very brittle. You know, that was work that I didn't need to do if I had looked ahead and thought about, you know, what the whole complete picture was and not look at it step by step. So questions and comments, always welcome down below. And I'm on top of comments, and I think I'm going to stay on top of comments. I got a whole bunch set aside for cocktails and comments, so one of those will be coming pretty soon. And you could also subscribe. And if you don't know this, I just want to mention that YouTube used to have, when you went to your first page, you'd have all of the thumbnails of all of your subscriptions and all of their recent updates. Then YouTube changed that, and now they just have like whatever they want to show you. But if you go into YouTube under the URL YouTube/feeds/subscription, then you go back to the old school way, and all of the thumbnails are from the people that you have subscribed to. Excuse me. And that's how I prefer to look at it. I don't like the bell, but if you use the bell, you should hit the bell. But I'd rather look at comments as a group, and I'd rather look at my subscriptions as a group, and so I don't really like using the bell. So if you didn't know that, that's a little tip for you. You can become a patron, and that is super, super helpful for keeping this channel going, helping to put coffee in my hands and keep the lights on and keep me motivated. It's really motivational to have patrons, so please consider becoming one. And the next video, I am going to be showing you that little mystery tool at the end and how it works, as well as early gluing up of the firebox walls and some of the tricks and troubles and hopefully learning tips for you. Hopefully you're going to come back to see that video because you know that I will be back soon with another Terranscapes video. To get that to somewhere where I like how it came out, fuck me. Don't go too off. Don't go too off script. Off.